Good morning to all. I hope you are good and safe at your places. Today we will discuss our code that is 13920 2016. It is the code of tactile design and detailing of reinforced concrete structures subjected to seismic forces. This standard covers the requirement for designing and detailing of members of reinforced concrete structure designed to resist lateral effects of earthquake shaking so as to give them adequate stiffness, strength, and ductility to resist severe earthquake shaking without collapse. In this code, we will study these clauses. We will start with the scope of the code, our first clause. Then we move to the clause number 2, references. Then our third clause is terminology. Then our fourth clause, symbols. Our fifth clause, general specifications. And sixth clause is beams. After that, we will study about the columns and inclined members. Then clause number 8, special confinement reinforcement. Clause number 9 is beam column joint of movement resistant frame. Our clause number 10 is shear wall. This is the case of special shear walls. And our last clause is gravity columns in buildings. To start with our first clause, that is scope. This standard addresses lateral load resisting structural system of RC structures that is composed of the first one is RC movement resisting frames, then RC movement resisting frames with unreinforced masonry infill walls. After that, RC movement resisting frames with RC structure walls, and at last RC structure walls. Provisions of this standard shall be adopted in all lateral load resisting systems or RC structure located in seismic zones 3, 4, and 5. The standard is optional in the seismic zone 2. The provision of RC structures given herein applies specifically to monolithic RC constructions and not for the precast structure, while precast or pre-stressed concrete members may be used only if they are designed to provide similar level of ductility and as that of monolithic RC structure during or after an earthquake. Then, consequence of failure of structural and non-structural member not part of the lateral force resisting systems shall also be considered in the design. One thing is important here, all RC frames, RC walls and their elements in a structure need not to design to resist lateral loads, and the designer can judicially identify the lateral load resisting system based on relative stiffness and location in the building and design those members for full lateral force. Then we move to the references that is used in this code. The following standard contains provisions which through reference in the text constitute provisions of this standard, like IS 456-2000, then 1343, that is code of practice for prestressed concrete. All these references are used in this code. Then 1893, criteria for earthquake resistant design of structure, that is part 1, part 2 and part 4. That means when we are using the code 13920, we are using this code with reference to the other codes. Then 4326 2013 as well. That is the code for earthquake resistant design and construction of buildings. Other than that, the code IS 1786 and 16172 are also referred in this code. Now we will move to our third clause, and that is the terminology. The various terminology that was used in that code are, we will start with the first is beams. These are members of movement resisting frames with flexure and shearing action. And you all know these are the horizontal members. Then we move to the columns. These are the members of movement resisting frames with axial, flexure and shearing action. Then boundary elements. These are portions along the ends of a structured wall that are strengthened by longitudinal and transverse reinforcement. They may have the same thickness as that of the wall web. Then cover concrete. It is that concrete which is not confined by the reinforcement. When we are talking about the transverse reinforcement, it is a continuous bar having 135-degree hook with an extension of 6 times diameter, but that is not less than the 65 mm at one end, and a hook not less than 90-degree with an extension of 6 times diameter. Again, that should also not be less than the 65 mm at the other end. The hooks shall engage peripheral longitudinal bars. In general, the 90-degree hooks of two successive cross ties engaging the same longitudinal bar shall be alternate and for end. Now, transverse reinforcement in column is typically called stirrups, and that in beams is called cross ties. Now, when we are talking about the second is gravity column in building, it is a column which is not part of the lateral load resisting system and designed only for force action. Which force action? Force action, that is axial force, shear force and bending moments due to gravity loads only. But it should be able to resist gravity loads at lateral displacement imposed by the earthquake forces. Now there is a clear difference between a column or a gravity column. The columns that we are designing to get or resist the earthquake forces is different, and those who are not taking part as a lateral load system are known as the gravity columns. Then lateral force resisting system, it is a part of structural system which participates in resisting forces induced by earthquake. Now, when we are talking about the definition of a link, it is a single steel bar bent into a closed loop having a 135-degree hook with an extension of 6 times diameter. Again, this knot should be less than 65 mm at each end, which is embedded in the confined core of the section and placed normal to the long-term axis of the RC beam or column. Now, some of you have a doubt in special movement resisting frames and ordinary movement resisting frame. Now I will explain that thing here. When we are talking about movement resisting frame, it is a 3D structural system composed of interconnected members without structural walls so as to function as a complete self-contained unit with or without the aid of horizontal diaphragms or floor bracing systems, in which the member resists gravity and lateral forces primarily by flexure action. Now, special movement resisting frame or SMRF It is a movement resisting frame specially detailed to provide ductile behavior as per requirements specified in clauses 5, 6, 7 and 8. Now, it is clear from this a structure or a frame that is designed with the requirements of these clauses, or in general you can say if a structure is designed as per 13920, a structure is designed as per the code 13920, it is a special movement resisting frame or special movement resisting structure. On the other hand, ordinary movement resisting frame, it is a movement resisting frame not meeting special detailing requirement for ductile behavior. Now, it is clear from this, if your structure is meeting the requirements of 13920, it is a SMRF, or if your frame is not meeting the requirements of 13920, it is OMRF only. While designing, we have to decide that we are designing our structure or our frame that will meet the requirements of 13920 or not. If it is meeting the requirements of 13920, it is SMRF. If it is not meeting the requirements of 13920, it is OMRF. Moving to the next part of the clause 3, a shear wall. It is a vertical oriented planar element that is primarily designed to resist lateral force effects in its own plane. Then special shear wall. It is a structural wall meeting special detailing requirements for ductile behavior specified in the clause number 10 of this code. Now moving to the clause number 4, that is symbols. These are the different symbols that are used in the standard so that the latter have the meaningful name. Like AE is for effective cross-section area of the joint, and AV is the vertical enforcement of the joint. During the video, I will also tell you the meaning of the different symbols. Moreover, all dimensions are in millimeter, loads in Newton, and stresses in MPa, unless otherwise specified in the video. Now, like BB is the width of the beam, then D is the overall depth, small d is the effective depth, then E as the Lux modulus of the steel, FC is the characteristic compressive strength of concrete cube, Fy is the yield stress of steel, like this way. All these symbols are used in this standard. Then moving to our next clause, that is clause number 5, and it is of the journal specifications. In the journal specification, it is clearly written as the design and construction of RC buildings shall be governed by provisions of IS 456, except as modified by provision of the standard for those elements participating in the lateral force resistance. That means the design and construction of our building will govern with IS 456 only, but those elements that are participating in the lateral force resistance that are modified by this standard so as they will meet our ductile requirements. Then minimum grade of structural concrete shall be M20, but M25 for buildings. Then more than 15 meter in height in seismic zone 3, 4 and 5, and but not less than required by IS 456 based upon the exposure conditions. Then steel reinforcement resisting earthquake induced forces in RC frame members in boundary elements of the RC structure wall shall comply with the clauses 5.3.1, 5.3.2, 5.3.3 of this code. Then steel reinforcements shall be like of grade Fe415 or less and confirm that should be conforming to IS 1786. Then of grade Fe500 and Fe550, and that is high strength deformed steel bar produced by thermomechanical treatment process having elongation more than 14.5% and conforming to again the code 1786. These are the requirements of our steel reinforcement. Then the actual 0.2% proof strength of steel bar based on tensile test must not exceed their characteristic 0.2% proof strength by more than 20%. Then the ratio of actual ultimate strength to the actual 0.2% proof strength shall be at least 1.15. Moving to the next part of the clause 5. In RC frame buildings, lintel beams shall preferably not be integrated into the columns to avoid short column effect. Now, I already discussed with you the short column effect. This part of the clause just saying that we need to avoid the lintels in that height of the column that maybe give a rise to the short columns. Moreover, when integrated, they shall be included in the analytical model for structure analysis. Similarly, plinth beams where provided and staircase beams and slab framing into column shall be included in the analytical model for structural analysis. Then only after that you can include that to the column. RC regular movement RC regular movement resisting frame building shall have planar frames oriented along the two principal plan directions of the building. Now, irregularity listed in IS 1993 Part 1 shall be avoided. Buildings with any of the listed irregularities perform poorly during earthquake shaking. In addition, building with floating columns and setback columns also perform poorly. Then, when any such irregularities are adopted, detailed nonlinear analysis shall be performed to demonstrate that there is no threat to life and property. Now we will move to the next clause, that is clause number 6, beams. The requirements of this section shall apply to beams resisting earthquake-induced effects in which the factored axial compressive stress does not exceed 0.08 times the FCK. Beams in which factored axial compressive stress exceeds zero point 0.0 FCK shall be designed as per the requirements of clause number 7. Then beams shall preferably have width to depth ratio more than 0.3. Beams shall not have width less than 200 mm. beams shall not have depth D more than 1/4 of the clear span. This may not apply to the floor beam of the frame staging of elevated RC water tanks. Now, width of beam BW shall not exceed the width of supporting member, this is C2, plus distance on either side of supporting member equal to smaller of the A and B. Now A is width of supporting member C2 and B is 0.75 times breadth of supporting member C1. You can see this figure in that if C2 is the width of the supporting member, then this thing not greater than the smaller of C2 and 0.75 of this is of C1. This is your C1 and you can clearly see the section A here. These things should not be greater than the smaller of C2 or C2 or 0.75 of the C1. Transverse reinforcement for the width of the beam that exceeds width of the column C2 shall be provided as shown in this figure throughout the beam span including within the beam column joint. Moving to the next part of this clause, that is longitudinal reinforcement. Now, the longitudinal reinforcement in beams shall be as given below. Beam shall have at least two 12 mm diameter bars, each of the top face and the bottom face. Then minimum longitudinal steel ratio, that is rho minimum required on any face of this section, that is rho minimum should be 0.24 root of FCK by F by. This should be required at any face of the section. Then maximum longitudinal steel ratio provided on any face at any section is 0.025. Longitudinal steel on bottom face of a beam framing into column shall be at least half the steel on its top face at the same section. At exterior joints, the anchorage length calculation shall consider this bottom steel to be tension steel. Longitudinal steel in beams at any section on top or bottom face shall be at least 1/4 of longitudinal steel provided at the top face of the beam and at the face of the column. When the top longitudinal steel in the beam at the two supporting column faces is different, the larger of the two shall be considered. At exterior joint, top and bottom bars of the beam shall be provided with anchorage length beyond the face of the column equal to the development length of the bar in tension plus 10 times the bar diameter minus the allowance for the 90-degree bend. This figure shows the anchorage of longitudinal beam bars at exterior beam column joint. Now we will talk about the splicing of longitudinal bar. It contains three types of splices. The first one is lap splices. Then we can also use mechanical couplers and welded splices. Talking about the lap splices, when lap splices are adopted, the closed link shall be provided over the entire length over which the longitudinal bars are spliced. Further, the spacing of these links shall not exceed 150 mm. The lap length shall not be less than the development length of the largest longitudinal reinforcement bar in tension. Lap spaces shall not be provided at width within a joint, within a distance of 2d from the face of the column, within a quarter length of the beam adjoining the location where flexure yielding may occur under earthquake effects. Then, not more than 50% of the area of steel bars on either top or bottom face shall be spliced at any one section. This is the figure showing the lap spaces. Now we were talking about these links. They should not be greater than 150 mm. Then moving to the mechanical couplers. Mechanical couplers shall be used when longitudinal steel bars have to be continued for beam spans larger than their manufactured lengths. Further, only those mechanical splices conforming to the above code, and here we are talking about the code 16172 that confirms about the mechanical couplers, and capable of developing specified tensile strength of spliced bar shall be permitted within a distance equal to 2 times the depth of the member from the member face, or in any location where yielding of reinforcement is likely to take place, and the spacing between adjacent longitudinal bar shall be based also on the outer size of the coupler to allow easy flow of the concrete. That means the space between the two should be like that. The concrete can easily flow between the two. Now, next is the welded couplers. Welded splices Welded splices shall not be used in beams for a distance equal to 2 times the width of the member from the member face, or in any location where yielding of reinforcement is likely to take place. At any set location, not more than 50% of the area of steel shall be spliced at any one section. Moreover, welding of links, ties, inserts, or other similar elements to vertical reinforcement bar required as per design is not permitted in any seismic zone. This is about the longitudinal reinforcement. Now next is our transverse reinforcement. In the transverse reinforcement, only vertical links shall be used in beams. Inclined links shall not be used. You can see from the figure this. In normal practice, a link is made of a single bent bar, but it may be made of two bars also, namely a U-link with 135-degree hook with an extension of 6 times diameter, but again that extension should not be less than the 65 mm at each end, embedded in the core of concrete, and the cross tie like this. The hooks of the links and the cross ties shall engage around peripheral longitudinal bars. Consecutive cross ties engaging the same longitudinal bar shall have their 90-degree hooks at opposite side of the beam. When the longitudinal reinforcement bar are secured by cross tie in beams that have a slab on one side. The 90-degree hooks of the cross ties shall be placed on that side. One thing more, the minimum diameter of a link shall be 8 mm. We don't use the size less than 8 mm. Discussing about the shear capacity of a beam shall be more than the larger of. The first one is factored shear force as per linear structure analysis, and the second one factored gravity shear force plus equilibrium shear force when plastic hinges are formed at both ends of the beam, and it is given by these equations. For survey to right, it is that. For survey to left, it is these equations. Now here VUA, VUB is calculated for the survey to right, and the formula is this, where MUAS, MUBH, MUASBH, all these are sagging and hawking moments of resistance of the beam section at ends A and B. These shall be calculated as per IS 456. And when we are talking about the LAB, it is the clear span of the beam. Your VUA and VUB, D plus L, are the factored shear forces at ends A and B respectively due to vertical loads acting on the span. The partial safety factor for dead load and live load is 1.2, and the beam shall be considered to be simply supported for the estimation. You can see this figure. This is for the survey to right, and this is for the survey to left. The design shear force deemed at end A of the beam shall be larger of the two values of Vu, A computed above. Similarly, the design shear demand at end B shall be larger than of the two value Vu, B computed above. This way you can calculate design shear force demand on beams under plastic hinges action at their ends. In calculation of the design shear force capacity of RC beams, contribution of the following shall not be considered. That means we don't need to take the contribution of bent up bars, inclined links, and concrete in the reinforced concrete section. We are not taking the contribution of these three for the design shear force capacity of the RC beams. Then, talking about the close spacing of links over a length of 2D at either end of the beam shall not exceed the following three. The first one is D by 4. The second one is A times the diameter of the smallest longitudinal bar. And the third one is 100 mm. You can see the provision of the links here. The first link shall be at a distance not exceeding 50 mm from the joint. That means this distance where your first link start, that distance not exceeding 50 mm. Closely spaced link shall be provided over a length equal to 2D on either side. 2D on either side. That means, and here D is this, on either side of a section where flexure yielding may occur under earthquake effects over the remaining length of the beam. Vertical links shall be provided at a not exceeding spacing not exceeding d by 2. The remaining part of this code we will discuss in the next video. Thank you.